This week, my guest is Homa Taghizadeh, a woman born and raised in Afghanistan, the country that women's basic rights should be fought for. Not only she fled the country alone multiple times, but also she helped her ailing mother and her sisters as an independent, reliable woman at the cost of leaving behind her dream career of becoming a doctor. Since then, she has gone from one job to another until she found what made her happy. With her personal business, she supports immigrants in a way that physicians can't. So whether you're a woman waiting for others to lend you a hand, or a father looking to raise a confident daughter, you want to hear Homa's story. So go ahead, grab your cup of tea, and join me in this episode of Empowering Conversations. Hello and welcome to the Empowering Conversations podcast, a place to get inspired, challenged, and empowered by stories of immigrants who build their success from zero. I'm your host, Mehran. Tell me a little bit about yourself, your immigration story. Basically, give us a sense of your early years as you came, or the journey to be here. I know that you have quite a journey to be here.
It is a long. I left my country, my homeland, age barely 16. Initially, I went to Europe as a student, and then I had a brief visit back home. And after that, I went to India. I lived in India by myself for about over 3 to 4 years. And then I immigrated to Canada. That's where I kind of settled first. Lived there for about 15 years or so. And then we resettled here in the US.
Wow, so you had basically four opportunities to start over.
Yes.
In certain ways.
Actually, I loved it the way you said, like opportunity. Yes, definitely it was an opportunity to learn about myself, my strengths, and discovering further opportunities that life can offer. Probably I would have not experienced them if I didn't have to go through this journey. So I would not trade it for anything.
So do you want to tell us a little bit in more detail the challenges that you have faced?
Starting with the first one, that was an easier transition because my first time going to Europe was not with immigration purposes. I just went to study, but still it was an experience just for a really young girl being by herself, coming from a country where like women cannot really have that kind of opportunities to just live on their own in a foreign land and everything. But that was like a base for me because that gives me confidence that I can start myself, I can be on my feet, and just really I can follow my dream as a woman. That was like the start point for me. But my actual like immigration starts in India. I said like I was in Europe for about 4 years, and then I had a brief visit back home. I went back home to reunite with my mom and my two other sisters because, our family sustained lots of hardship back in Afghanistan. We lost our dad. My brother had to flee the country, so I went back to just get my mom and my sister and leave the country. But then we kind of got stuck and I couldn't do, and then I got in deeper problems with the government and everything, so I had to flee the country. I had 2 unsuccessful attempts to cross the border by myself with a couple other people, like not family member. So eventually I managed to flee to India and become a United Nations refugee. And I was by myself.
And you were only 20?
Barely. That was when I really felt the obstacles in that part of the world, culture for women. Nobody even wanted to rent me a room. Anybody I came across, mostly from my own culture, once when they learned that I'm by myself, I was judged that why I was by myself. People were trying to match me for marriage because they thought that, that might be a way to rescue. And with that, I tried to keep myself really preoccupied in India. I've taken every single opportunities that offered by United Nations or UNHCR. Like they normally would give different courses, short-term courses for refugees just to prepare them for their settlement in the country that they're going later on. When I went to Canada, it was really beautiful, but just when first I got to Canada, like I had like big dreams, and I ended up in a very small town. For a short period of time, I thought all my dreams kind of like shattered because I couldn't see any room for advancement, or because I had a different picture in my mind. By then, I was speaking speaking fairly good English back then because I learned in India a lot, and also I learned in Afghanistan. And then I decided to not depend on government assistance that I could have received for the first year. So third day arrival in Canada, so I start to volunteer back for Canada Immigration. Open Door Society was an organization that was helping newcomers. So I was volunteering for them with linguistic services, and then I started to work. I was working in a restaurant as a waitress while I was studying. And after 6 months, moved to Vancouver, British Columbia, which is a big city. Went there, started to work with another refugees resettlement agency called Mosaic. I went there and I got involved with accounting and bookkeeping classes. And then I went to college in Vancouver. So I got my associate degree in accounting and bookkeeping. And then I started to work for different organizations, and after a while I've learned that accounting and bookkeeping is not the area that I want to work. So I continued my education and meanwhile my search and everything. So finally I got a job with the travel industry. I loved what I did. Well, it gave me lots of opportunities, travel the way I loved. I did that for quite some time until like our son was born. Like both my husband and I, we had a really good career, really good paid job and everything. Then my husband, who was a reprographic manager at the time in a company, came up with this idea that we both have a lot more responsibility with our son and everything, and it's not going to be the most secure job. So he wanted to pursue studies like more in a medical field, which he dreamed of for the longest time. And we were having difficult time finding that opportunity in Canada. So one day in college, like I came across with this people representing College of Chiropractic here in the US. So I picked up some brochure and everything, and I gave it to my husband.
For some of us, immigration is a plane ticket, 2 suitcases, and a bundle of cash. For others, it is a long journey from one country to the next. Endless struggles until settled at the final destination. Some navigate it with their family members, but some have to do it alone. I've seen many who have gone through many transitions, but at the end decided to go back to their home country. Immigration is a unique journey, and no one knows where the final destination is or when the immigrant settles, simply because we're moving with the opportunity that finds us. So better to do it with the attitude that Homa shares with us today.
As soon as we moved here, 10 days later, unfortunately, 9/11 happened.
Wow.
Not only I was not able to transfer my job, got laid off. My husband started school here. That was like another starting from zero for us. And it was the most difficult time of all, I believe, because we had a child. I was devastated. That was the very first time in my adult life that I was literally without a job because I didn't have a work permit here. After staying home with him, I've realized that, oh my God, how lucky I am that I'm having this time with him. Because I could have been busy working, I could have missed so many milestones with him. We did everything that, lots of times, so many people who were like really well off probably could have not done it. Even then, like most devastating time of my life, I tried to look at the positive side because I believe there is no black or white. It all depends how you're looking at things. One time somebody asked Nelson Mandela, how you really can maintain your hope in a solitary prison for all these years. His response was so beautiful. When I was on that cell, I could see light through the cell small window. And the difference between myself and the prison guard is he was free on the other side, but all he could look at all the time is the darkness of my cell because he was looking inside. And all I could see is the light through that window. My suggestion to our audience is just, give a try and thought to this quote because you inspire your own self. It's always been direction for me in my life. So everything, like even the most devastating situation, it has learning opportunity and it has something good in it. It all depends on how you look at it. So that's why when I thought that was the darkest time of my life being home, I've realized that how lucky I am having this chance of raising my own child.
Do you have any specific routines in your day that gets you to be in the mindset that you are?
I try to meditate and that helps me. And when I get really overwhelmed, I try to just take a break, short break for a moment, take a deep breath and just reassure that everything will be okay. But just realize that it's going to be a long journey.
So whenever you feel like you're in that, you're looking at the darkness, this is what you do to get you back to be looking at the window again.
Exactly. And also when I'm overwhelmed, so I try to just, get myself out of that panicky stage.
Yes.
By just, taking a back seat for a second and just realize that, okay, it's going to be difficult.
Yes.
Because when you know it's going to be difficult, you're more prepared. You don't panic.
Yes.
It's not unexpected anymore.
So you kept talking about the dream that you had when you left the second time from Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
What was that dream and when did that dream became the reality? It seems it was sometime in Canada, but maybe it had happened, afterwards in United States as well. But tell me a little bit about that dream that got you out of Afghanistan.
I always had a struggle with the culture. Being born as a woman in a country such as Afghanistan is not an easy task. If you don't believe on that culture, it's a continuous struggle. I was lucky enough that I was born in a family that I was born, and my dad was my biggest supporter. By losing my dad, I lost a big support. I came up to realization that, that's upon me now to follow this legacy and follow this dream, just to live as a free, independent woman being born in Afghanistan.
Do you feel that that dream is now accomplished?
It's not complete, but yes, it is. Because my biggest step was when at age 16, when I stood up for my right and I said, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I don't know how I managed. Probably it was not the most optimal situation.
Yes.
Because they were believing that my dad was basically killed or captured by the left-wing government, and yet I was going to go to Eastern Europe country. But to me, it's not important. To me, it's no matter where you want to live, what ideology you want to live with, still you can just be benefited from, even if it's not the ideology that you believe in. You can be your own self. And
that's beautiful.
Yeah, so that's the way. And so that was my dream, basically, just, establish as a woman that, yes, a woman, regardless of their place of birth, regardless of their culture, they can be independent. They can achieve all their goals as long as they try.
That's amazing. And I applaud that. I mean, it seems like from very early age, you were showing that independence. As a 16, being born in that culture, you were very different from many others.
I believe so. It was difficult. I lost my dad when I was about 13, I believe. But those first 13 years, I believe it was a really good foundation. I have had lots of meaningful conversations with my dad.
Who was the person that had that mentorship or that influence on you? And it seems, at least from my understanding, that it must have been your dad.
I believe so. Because I don't know, like whether I was naturally born that way or something. From very early age, I always seek, like, equality. I was always having questions about all these things, but I was never, like, my dad never shut me down and never told me that it's too early for you to know. He tried to explain as much as he could, and I believe that gives me that platform of thought that yes, you can do that.
And I think it's very important that your dad had done this in an environment that is very male dominant. Your dad had that role. How beautiful and how inspiring that can be to
It is.
many other fathers.
Yeah, he was a practicing Muslim, but he never, like forced it upon us, which I believe it's so beautiful. It made me believe that you can be whoever you want. You can believe whatever you want. You can practice whatever you want, as long as you have respect for yourself and respect for others. So that's like really inspiring.
Yeah. How many of you wished you had Homa's dad, even for a short time? A dad that taught you to respect and believe in yourself and be whoever you want. I know I wouldn't mind having him, even for a short time. But you know what was interesting? In my second interview, Salma also shared the value of her relationship with her dad and how he had an influence on the type of woman she is today. In fact, studies have shown dads make a significant difference in their daughter's self-esteem and how they feel about their physical appearance, their body, and their confidence. So this is for you, dads. Regardless of where you come from, what culture you were raised with, how you or your sisters were treated, love your daughters in a new way. I know you do already, and you're doing the best you can, providing for them, investing in their education, and even listening to this podcast and others like it. But if you wish to raise a girl that is successful, confident, and a little independent, how about watching your words around physical appearance and women's worth? Stay close, love them, hug them, and compliment them on their strength and their physical appearance. Teach them to be a problem solver like you teach boys. I know your efforts will not go unnoticed, as it didn't in Homa's story or Salma's. So let's go back to your immigration. Would you think of any point or something that you have learned now that you didn't know at the time, that you would now look back and say, I wish I knew this and my life would have been much easier? Basically, giving a lesson from your current version to your 16-year-old version. Is there something that you could say to that?
I believe, if I want to think really, really clear about that, I really was, like, when I first immigrated, like, I was focusing more, like, I have to survive, I have to make some money,
Yes.
and I have to work hard. I have to really, really work hard in order to survive. If I would go back, I would just, put more energy and say, like, okay, I'm going to be really struggling for the next 4 or 5 years, but I'm going to get my studies done first.
I see. So if you had gone back, you would do your studies first.
Yes. And then make more money and just be more financially secure. When you immigrate, you have like lots of energy, lots of raw energy and momentum. You have all these big dreams, but just, it's so exciting that it's hard to differentiate that which one should I do first. Right now, my biggest suggestion, mostly for people that were newer, I would say that, just try to focus on your school and study as much as you can. Be okay and happy with the less financial security. Mm-hmm. Just have enough to get by and follow your school first. Learn the language. Learn the culture as much as you can.
Yes. Integrate.
Exactly. Not by name, physically emotionally,
Yes.
and ideologically.
Culturally, yes.
Culturally too.
Yes.
And there are good things. I'm not saying that, like all of a sudden you have to make a drastic change. Keep your roots. It's always there. And just try to learn. Not everything is good in your culture and in your roots.
Be flexible. Learn.
Be flexible.
Yes. Just like as you're being educated, technique-wise, re-educate yourself.
Re-educate you. There's so many good things in this culture too.
Mm-hmm.
But just you have to be open-minded about.
Mm-hmm.
And if there are things that not practicable anymore in your culture, it's okay to put them aside.
What were some of the things that you had to unlearn from your own culture that you think unlearning them had helped you be successful?
I believe, fortunate in that sense because I cherish my background. I respect it. I always think about it as my roots. And I believe I have one mentality that I tell my son too. When I look at a strong tree, they normally grow away from their roots, but their roots are always there. And to me, in order to evolve and just in order to succeed and just go on with my life, so I never try to be sticking back to my roots. Just, grow away. Mm-hmm. But just still make sure that those roots are there to hold me.
What are the values that you've learned from your culture that really helped you? Like, the roots that you are talking about, what part of those roots gave you that stability with these huge transitions that you have gone through?
I'm not quite sure at this point, even if it's like more of a culture or just my family culture. The thing which really helped me, like I've learned that humanity is the same no matter where you are, what culture you belong to. Just to be honest about your feelings. Don't judge your feelings. Like if I don't really feel 100% Afghan, I'm not a bad person or I'm not wrong or something. It's okay. Maybe I feel this way for the specific reasons because I was born there as a woman and I always had to fight for my basic rights. Those are the facts about my culture. I know them, but what it helped me to grow away from them, those are there, but maybe it has a reason for them to function that way. It's okay, but that's not, if I'm not okay with them, it's also okay. I shouldn't be judged.
I see. Basically, being a human and accepting yourself.
Yeah, just, believe in one simple fact that humanity is the same everywhere. It's across the board. Humanity doesn't have a border. Humanity doesn't have a specific culture or cultural value.
What sacrifices you had to make along the way?
Well, as a teenager, due to circumstances, my family circumstances, leaving and everything, I really didn't have that chance to be a teenager, to be a young person.
Yes.
I had to grow a lot faster.
You were just 16 when you...
Yeah, even prior to that, when I lost my dad, as the oldest child of the family, my mom got sick, my entire family started to flee the country. So I had to take on a responsibility of basically literally father of the family.
Wow.
And taking care of my other siblings. So that opportunity to be a child and to be a teenager was completely didn't exist to me. I had to grow a lot faster. But once again, I cherish it because it helped me to be who I am right now.
How about along the way?
Once again, because I was on my own and I had to just be a provider for my own self, for my own needs, an achiever, everything. So I had to work a lot harder. I had a lot less time to do things that I like, enjoy, have fun.
That's the price of being independent, right? You have to be working extra hard.
We all want to just, take it a little bit easier. But my circumstances never really gave me that opportunity. So I had to work physically a lot harder, emotionally, and also I had to be in constant search. So it gave me very little time to really focus on my own personal needs.
Along that line, what was the hardest decision you had to make?
One of the hardest decisions that I had to make goes back all the way when I was in Europe. All my life, I was dreaming to be a doctor. And finally, I was on my way to that. And when I went to Hungary, I was preparing for medical school. It was a moment of truth, I want to say, that I was feeling it. I'm almost there. I'm reaching my goal of becoming a doctor. And then I got these challenges. My mom was severely sick back home in Afghanistan. I had to make a decision of pursuing my dream, continuing my education, or go back home and save my mom. Because I was just a week away from my final exams. And in Hungary, it's a different system. It's not like North America. And I tried to ask for a year postponing my final exams or just even repeating the year, but they would not be able to grant me. So I had no other choice than giving up my entire scholarship and go back home, get her out of the country, because she was struggling with her health and also with all the issues with the government and everything. That was difficult. It was really, really difficult. But I have no regrets, though.
You don't?
No. Probably if I have to do it all over again, I would have done it the same way again. Because my mom made lots of sacrifices for us. She was really young when she lost my dad. And that was another time for me to prove that, Mom, it's okay. You don't have a husband who is a male. You don't have your son that you're relying as a male. But I'm here.
Wow.
And
see, this is what I love about you, that energy. You didn't perform as a guilt.
No.
That she has sacrificed so much, but instead you were showing up as that independent, I can do it, I got this.
And I was trying to inspire her too, because, like, we will be okay. We are women, but we will be okay. It was myself, my sister, my mom, and my other sister. And we did survive, so...
That is truly, truly inspiring. Coming from that culture and having gone through all that, you sacrificed your dream. That is applaudable. And you're living a completely different career now.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm thinking that, wow, did I really, really wanted to be a doctor?
Yes. You're caring for the people in a different way.
In a different way.
Yes.
In a different way. And it's a blessing. And especially working with all the people who are new in the country or new in the culture. That is so rewarding to just be able to help them out.
I know how busy you are, but how do you balance? Because that's a question that a lot of busy moms wonder about. How do we balance our career given our background, our different background as what we have to be, right? Mm-hmm. Because you and I know there's a different expectation for us Middle Eastern women. What do we have to do for the family? I'm just curious, how do you do it? What do you do?
Multitasking is something that I always try to learn, but I learned it by experience when I had my son. That's when naturally it kind of came to me that, okay, I can carry him in his baby carrier and I can do my household things.
What advice for women coming from, cultures like ours?
As a woman overall, I would say, believe in yourself, first of all. And whatever you feel is right for you, believe in it. And don't be worried about judgment. And don't doubt yourself.
I really, really enjoyed talking with you. The story of, looking at the light is something that I'm going to try to practice every day, because we all get to be looking at the dark side, and we all need different stories that remind us that there is a window to look through.
Exactly. Just there's one thing, to me it's not a story anymore. To me it's a proven fact. There were so many times that I could have not even survived if I didn't have this frame of mind. And it really doesn't hurt for anyone to just give a try to this.
I really encourage, the audience to try it once, twice, maybe months, and see how does their life change. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, they haven't lost anything.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Again, I really appreciate the time that you spent with me today and the insights that you have given me and my audience. It's truly an honor to know you, Homa Jan.
Honor is mine, and thank you so very much for having me. and giving me this opportunity. It's really valuable, and thank you so very much. Wishing you all the best.
Thank you. Are you wondering what Homa does that is more rewarding than her dream of being a physician? She owns her small business supporting, interpreting, and educating newcomers. Once she shared a powerful story that stuck with me forever. She was at the bedside with a woman delivering her first child. At the moment that the life of a mother and a baby was on the line, she could convince the immigrant parents to allow a male doctor to deliver their child. Something that was culturally unacceptable for them, but necessary. So if Homa's story inspired you to lift yourself up despite the difficulties and invest in yourself, or look at your relationship with your daughters in a different way, make sure you share it and write me a review on iTunes. This makes my podcast to be found easier. I depend on you, my proactive audience, to inspire, educate, and empower other immigrants. And in case you haven't subscribed to Empowering Conversations on your favorite channel yet, make sure you do. And if you didn't find us, let me know. We want to be available and accessible to every immigrant out there. Until next week, in another successful immigrant story, stay home, stay safe, and stay tuned. And as always, thank you for listening and supporting our podcast. You, my audience, mean the world to me. And I know I will see you in the next episode of Empowering Conversations.